All right, well, I would like to again welcome everybody to the All Florida virtual opening reception. Again, it's amazing to see you all. Thanks for joining us. We've got 71 people on this Zoom call, so it's going to be a party. It's always a party for All Florida, and we miss you all, I've got to say. Us here at the Alliance, we couldn't do it without you. It's been great to see all half of your faces when you come in for receiving and throughout the month to see the shows and participating with us over the last year now. All Florida 2020, we had our first case in Lee County, so here we are. What a wild ride. And that was the opening reception that night, I think. So, all right, just to give you a quick intro, I think, again, my name's Aaron. I'm the gallery director, Aaron Gerhard. And I always forget to do that, introduce myself, say who is this person talking. And then I also want to just to remind you, just come on out throughout the month, invite your friends. You can bring some people through, patrons, friends, family, through the gallery any day of the week throughout the month, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and Saturdays 9 to 1 to see the work. We've got the Green Market on Saturdays, and you can come on in and take a look. So please do. Again, we'll also, we're recording this call, so we'll save this on our YouTube channel, and we'll send all the artists a link next week. So also included with that link for the YouTube broadcast will be installation photographs of the exhibit, as well as single images of each artwork. And we'll do low resolution on our website, so you can take a look as well. Let me see, just another reminder before we really kick it off here too, just to make sure that you're muted. If it's down in the left corner, you can mute yourself just so you don't get the dog barking and the doorbell ringing. And then we'll open up for questions as well throughout the night. We're gonna do I'll introduce, well, first of all, we've got a very special guest tonight. She's stayed here to greet you all. We've got Molly Deckart, our new executive director, who's gonna say hello, and she will greet you all. And then I'm gonna turn it over to our juror this evening, Shawn Peterson, for the exhibit, and he's gonna take you through the gallery, talk about a few pieces that struck his eye, and then we'll go right into the awards. So we've got our gallery intern, FGCU graduate Erica Bissett, who helped with receiving and greeting you all, and she's going to be the camera operator this evening as well. So thanks, big thanks to her. And let me kick it over to Molly, and she can say a few words, and then we'll begin. So let me get it over to the gallery cam for you. All right, Molly, are you there? All right. Yeah, there we go. It's all you, Molly.
No, you have no light.
I have no light.
We can see you okay. Yeah, go a little closer. There we go.
I'm an artist, it's got to be perfect. My name is Molly Deckart, and I am the new executive director of this wonderful Alliance for the Arts. And I just wanted to, if I have not had the opportunity to meet you yet, just welcome you to the All Florida show. I'm super excited about it. Love being in Southwest Florida, and very impressed with the diversity of work, the quality of it, and I think you'll really like tonight because I have so enjoyed watching this show come together, learning more about the pieces, and I think Aaron's done a fantastic job, and I've just had the opportunity to connect with Shawn. So please have fun tonight, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Molly. And if you haven't gotten to stop by and meet her already, please do. And let's see here. All right, so the juror for this evening is Shawn Peterson. Hello, Shawn. Yes, gorgeous lighting. All right, and Shawn received his Master's Fine Arts degree from Montclair State University in 2005, his Bachelor of Fine Arts from Ringling in 2003, and he's an artist, primarily works in sculpture and drawing. He's also worked as a graphic designer, creative director, adjunct professor, and a jeweler artist assistant for several prominent artists in New York. So great, well-rounded artist and professional personality, and it's been great getting to know him this evening. His work's been shown regionally and nationally, and currently he's teaching sculpture at and is the studio coordinator at Florida Gulf Coast University, my alma mater. So Shawn, let's go ahead and turn it over to you. Thank you again for agreeing to judge the exhibition. It is no small feat. I think there was, what, 400, just under 450 entries for this show, so a lot to choose from all around the state. And tell us a little bit, if you want to add just your perspective on the show and just this theme in general. It's kind of a tough one. It's all encompassing, and just sort of how you came to it, and then we'll take a look through the gallery. Oh, hold on just a second here. Just a second. Gotta unmute you. Sorry, gotta unmute you. Just a second.
Be good.
There, you got it. Thank you, Erica.
You hear me now? Can you
Great.
hear me?
Beautiful.
Okay. Our assistant doesn't know how to use the camera.
Yes, I do.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me. Yeah, the show, I was very impressed by the amount of work that showed up. When I received that file, because everything is digital this year, there was somewhere between 400 and 4,000 pieces or something to go through. And we were trying to pare everything down to about 60 pieces. But yeah, thank you, Aaron. Thank you, everybody, for having me. I thought of the Keith Richards quote today because I don't go out much in the past year and a half. With the Keith Richards quote of, "It's great to be here. It's actually great to be anywhere." I thought of that today. So it's good to be here. Our wonderful assistant, Erica, is going to follow me around. There's her thumb. And yeah, I thought we could just start out by giving can we pan the camera and just look at how the gallery looks? We can come back here and take a look. Even with 60 plus pieces, everything has some room, so it's looking great. Today was the first time I was in the gallery and I was able to see everything in person. So I'm always really happy if anyone asks me to jury shows, but I particularly like the shows where you have a very wide swath of work that shows up. And this definitely had that. And I think putting a show together that has to do with all Florida or some kind of an invitational, you really want to show a breadth of work. And it definitely was there in the files when I got it. So, like I said, today's actually the first time that I get to see all this work in person. So I was pretty excited. A lot of things look different than I thought they would. And most of it is way more impressive in person, as art usually is. But hopefully I made the best selections that I could in putting together a show that had a wide breadth that shows all over Florida. We have a lot of different types of artists that are making a lot of different types of work. So shall we just peruse around and we just look at a few things? Where shall we start?
Why don't you take a look through the back gallery there as well?
Oh yeah. Well, let's just start back here and we'll look at some more. Also, giving credit to everyone working here. The show is hung beautifully. Everything looks great.
Erica was a great help. We made ourselves dizzy arranging artwork, trying to get it all to come together there. I think hanging a show like that, getting those pieces that are so different to speak to one another, trying to let them have the room and enhance them, try and give them the voice that they need, give them enough room to say what they need to say. There's some great things happening in there.
Is that yellow piece plastic or glass?
It's glass. It's all suspended glass from monofilament fishing line, and it's got two different viewing points. So it's also a question mark and an exclamation point. It's titled, "Why Don't You See Things Like I Do?" So we've got everything from mosaic, tile mosaic, to fiber work, ceramic, all your traditional painting, drawing media, and then installation, immersive work. I mean, what a great span of selections. I just want to again commend Shawn with really taking a bit and piece from everything there.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, except, there's no reason to commend me. You should commend the artists. That a lot of interesting work came together. I mean, in any given corner here, just for example, what Erica's looking at right now, we have pen and ink drawing, we have a small oil painting, we have soapstone that's been carved, we have fiber work. Next to this, we have welded steel. Next to that, etching, oil painting. So it's, it's really a good sampling of a lot of different things that are happening around the state and what are happening in a lot of different studios. Suspended pieces of glass. This thing terrifies me. If I sneezed, it would probably break into a million pieces.
It's pretty sturdy, to be honest.
It's pretty sturdy.
Oh, it is, yeah.
I don't know if everyone can see this or not, but everything is held by very, very thin lines of monofilament. When you look at it from one angle, it appears to be a question mark. You look at it from the other side, and it's an exclamation point. So, the combination of the tedium of building something like this, but then it's also kind of whimsical and lighthearted with that play. That was a really nice thing. This corner, I think, is really interesting. I mean, I don't think you're going to go to many places and see these like 6 works next to each other on a wall. And again, it speaks to the talent here in Florida, but also to the diversity of approaches and just how many things can be coming close. So we have a very kind of classic composition of what I thought was a very interesting selection of this piece is called Pouty Little Boy. Gentle, and also I thought very odd drawing, and I just loved it. Directly underneath it, incredibly detailed fiber work. And one of the things that's really difficult when you're looking at work digitally, and like I said, we had a lot of them, was really understanding the scale or how something is put together. Sometimes it's lost in a photograph. But when you walk up to works like this, everything kind of can you zoom in here?
Wish I could.
No, we can't zoom. The fingernails, the stitching in here on the hand, the teeth. Great piece here by someone who I later found out is actually a student over at Florida Gulf Coast University, a small porcelain piece with some hidden surprises underneath that we won't tell you about. Clean geometric painting, acrylic painting on, I believe, paper or some kind of board. And then right next to it, we have a framed mosaic. So yeah, the diversity I thought was really great. And as someone who's asked to juror things, it's exciting to see. You click on an image, you don't always know what you're going to get. Photography of dioramas, more classic paintings here, 2 oil paintings, something that's a bit more impressionistic, something that's a bit tighter. Figure paintings. And then there's this kind of wild sculpture, which through all the images that I went through, this one was like the one that really kind of threw me for the biggest loop. I barely knew what I was looking at. And then coming in here today, it's unbelievably bright and, you know, kind of acts as a kind of assemblage.
I'll have to take the phone off of the thing so I can show everyone the,
I don't even know if the light will show up on the camera. It's so bright.
it should. Here, let me show everyone the things going on behind it. All of the things that she put behind here.
She did a little campus cleanup for us while she was here installing that.
Went and found
That's
some different parts and a lot of different things from around here. I'm gonna put this back on the stand.
Again, kind of moseying around. We have two small ceramic pieces here. I thought the finish was gorgeous, and you know, the forms kind of hint towards things that we already know. They're suggestive, but just beautifully handled. As we come around the corner here, we have a piece of, it says collage, it's mixed media. I see a lot of different things and layers. And one of the things with jurying a show like this that's really hard is that I didn't get to see all the work in person when we were figuring out what would be in the show. And so seeing an image like this can be flat on a computer screen. And you kind of do your best with having seen far too many paintings in my life of what's actually happening on the surface. And it's nice when you show up and you realize there's even more juiciness in there than you thought. So the depth of this painting, the layers, we have different types of, I'm guessing these are papers, a mylar, we have paint, we have ink, and the surface has a real depth to it. This was the wildest piece, I thought, that was in the show. And I still don't dare not guess everything that's happening here. We have an oil painting in the back with hand-painted objects in the front, and a narrative of certain types of dinosaurs. And I love it when artists kind of, they decide that there's not one way that they're going to tell a narrative or tell you a story. And so they implement a lot of different ways of doing it. We have everything in here from kind of very classic traditional ways of painting rocks and landscape with oil. And then we also have things like glitter paint shoved in between clay and cards talking about the narrative that's implied here. I thought this was a really wild piece. I thought it was great. And then next to it, we have things that are very, very sharp, hard-edged work, very graphic. You know, I see something like this and I think of everything from op work in the 60s to painters like Steve McCallum and Al Hell, and pulled together in a really, really tight composition. Great scale, huge punchy color. More traditional works here. Really, really tight, gorgeous watercolor technique in here. Great portrait in oil. simple but really great punchy acrylic painting. Sometimes you'll look at work like this and I see things that have obviously influenced the artist from other artists. Like I see a lot of work from people like Keith Haring, for example, in the 80s. But also there are these interesting things like, this reminds me of like expanded diagrams of how things go together. Like if I were to take a bandsaw apart, I could imagine expanded diagrams, something like this, but still has a very handmade feel to the lines. Really beautiful painting. I mean, this is definitely a big crowd pleaser. Called Memento Mori, Memento Vive. And the fun thing is this painting moves. So what is vertical can change. The setup, the woodwork, the drama, the hints towards historical memento moris, I thought was really, really great. So I think it's interesting that these two pieces are right next to each other, because I think obviously they have something to do with water. When I looked at the work in digital format, I had no idea what to expect from these two pieces. Like they were very, very curious to me. And I couldn't tell, sometimes you can't tell with a painting how it's made, what process they went through, what's sitting up front, what's falling to the back, are certain things glazed, is it really fat, thick, chunky paint? I had no idea with this one. And then as I see it in person, I love it more. It's very, very blunt. It's one that you really want to see in person. Everything from the skinnier line work to these kind of flashes of watery acrylic, I thought was great. This one is a photograph, and I still have no idea what it's a photograph of. But it was a really curious work. It's small, it lures you in, and I loved it. So this, to me, these three pieces are actually the ones that shocked me the most today when I showed up. These three are made by people that I've known for a long time, and I had no idea that they made this work. The kind of work, the materials even, I had no idea. When I saw their name, I figured there had to be another person with the same name. Gorgeous piece. I don't know if you can see this really. It's really tough to see cast glass work.
Yeah, let me,
on camera.
sorry.
Even in person, they're very, very delicate to see, and you have to kind of move around. This piece is called Bird in Hand, and it's cast glass of a small bird sitting in someone's hand.
Interesting.
And then above it, same artist working in hand-forged aluminum. As someone who generally makes sculpture, I'm still surprised when you see two works like this and they come from the same artist. Beautiful floral painting here, kind of a zoomed in floral. And really, this is, again, the type of painting that you really want to see in person, because so much of it, I think, is about the touch and the surface, as well as the color and composition. So it works from a lot of different places. You know, from 25 feet away, you see the kind of glow of this flower, you see a beautiful composition, and then you get up and you really get to see how delicate the touch with the paint is. We have some noise in the background. I'm not sure if you hear, but there are kids outside playing soccer. That is not a sculpture. At first, I wasn't sure. picture of a ghost circuit here, made from all recycled metal, then painted. I think we have different types of rebar. It's then mixed with sheet that was hammered out. And then directly above it, similar color palette, but a very, very different way of working. Fairly traditional pastel of a still life, of a few green apples on a doily. Right next to it, this is a great piece to actually come in close on. Beautiful oil portrait. This artist is really dealing with, I think some of this may even be aired in with a bit of an airbrush or something. I could be totally wrong about that, but I've come up to the surface obscenely close. I'm sure nobody wants me breathing on their painting, but very tight, beautiful color work. Great composition, really, really strong piece. It's really impactful. It's great that this is right at the front of the gallery when people walk in, I think. As we come around the corner, these two are very fun. Both of them are mixed media. This uses collage. I see all kinds of things here in person. I see everything from pen, some scratchy use of, looks like a cheesecloth that's maybe laid into the paint, small line work, collage of different cutouts. And then above it, a pretty wild color palette that's painted in a way that I don't see very often. Every now and then I think you come across certain paintings and you're not sure what the references are, where it comes from, who decides to make these kinds of paintings, how do you come to those decisions? And it's extremely exciting. So just on the surface, we're actually looking at a very, very thin painting on a fairly scratchy canvas with what would normally be considered crass colors. You know, they've been fashionable at different times, but pretty crass colors. And the imagery, I still have no idea what's happening. And I think that curiosity is why I want to keep looking at it. I'm not sure if the zoom camera is working that well, but this pink is unbelievably hot against these really acidic greens and yellows. We come over here, again, huge difference here. We have what I would generally consider to be, you know, heavily influenced by early mid-modernism, late modernism, very expressive brushwork, a lot of scratchy things that I'm not sure exactly even what was used for this kind of mark making. And this kind of thing, you know, very expressive. It seems to be mostly about color composition, messing with the elements, finding new ways of applying paint, allowing certain mistakes to happen. So risky in that way. The painting next to it reminds me of someone like an Elizabeth Peyton type of artist who's working. This is oil, but it's very, very loose and thin paint. And a lot of times, this is just a generalization that I'm going to put out there, but a lot of times when I see representational oil painting, the work can get way thick because oil is so sexy and the color is so intense. And this is a painting that actually lets a lot of the white from the canvas come through, almost like you would normally do in watercolor. This one, great painting. I love geometric abstraction. It's always been, I've always had a soft spot in my heart for it. This is a painting that when you back up from it, you think that it's actually very carefully designed. And I mean that in a way of, because of the harsh geometry, because the composition seems so tight, you almost think a lot of it is calculated. But then when you get on top of it, I think that's kind of, and that's part of the fun of the painting. So when you come up, we have things that are cut in with tape marks, but we can also see the history behind all of the paint. So there's a lot of brush marks back here. There's a lot of shapes that were painted back over. I see a lot of triangles and rectangles back here. So this is one of those compositions that sometimes you see and you think, well, they must have had a dead-on plan for that. They knew exactly what they were putting together. Maybe they drew it up in, you know, Adobe Illustrator or something. But then when you come up to the surface, it kind of surprises you each time because you get to see the history of what's put together. This piece right here is a bench, so we won't talk much about the bench. It's a great bench, though. I mean, really a great bench. For a bit of fun, for a bit of love, we have a really funny little scene here in this photo of two owls. I love that little piece. This sculpture, hinting towards different types of folk art that I see there. But there's an implied narrative happening right here, which you can see from the front here with soldiers speaking to what appears to be an elderly woman that may be part of her home. Great painting. This is a big painting. This is traditionally when you think of oil paint, this is the type of painting that you think of. You know, oil is really great for punches of color and really creamy brushwork that can kind of work together and kind of blend in. And I thought this was, first it seems like a very complicated painting, but I think that it hints towards different historical paintings in terms of composition. Also the title involves a biblical line. But when you get up close, you realize that the paint is really just kind of doing its thing with being very, very creamy. Things blend in a certain way. And the closer you get, the more you notice these large areas that are actually very, very plain. I mean, there are subtleties in there. And in a way, and I mean this in the absolute best way, there seems to be some real speed in the way that something like this is painted. You can see there's just some washy work here, some highlights that are dropped in. I think of like the sign painters from the 60s and people like James Rosenquist, who would kind of add milk, white, to the paint as a way of extending the color, but also blending those bodies of paint. And who doesn't love to see tons of wrinkles of fabric painted? Always great to see. This tiny little piece I thought was great. Again, a portrait, but takes it a little bit out of what we would consider to be a portrait traditionally. The head, the face is cropped in kind of a weird way. We have this punchy blue background. The model has facial piercings, which you don't see all that often in painting. held in this kind of gilded gold frame made me think, again, of somebody like Elizabeth Peyton, but also a painter like Karen Kalimnik or something like that. And then directly below it, in sharp contrast, hand-carved soapstone sculpture. I apologize to the artist, but whenever I come up to hand-carved stone sculptures, I always touch them.
Hey there, Shawn. I don't mean to interject, but we're at 6:41 here now. You're doing pretty good at of spotlighting 60 paintings in 45 minutes. But if you want to walk through some of the other ones or go into the awards, it's up to you.
We can move on to the awards. Yeah, I tend to talk far too long. You sound just like one of my students.
And I apologize to any of the artists that we weren't able to get to. That's always the tough spot here. Let me unspotlight the camera here. Here we go. Hello. All right, sorry everybody. But yeah, I just wanted to jump in there, and that's always the hard part when we're giving a little tour. I always have to do that same thing. It's hard to, you want to talk about every piece, and there's just so many great pieces. And I think you got a great survey of the variety of work, the range, and you know, it did a great job, Shawn, of detailing some of your perceptions on some of those works as well, which is really nice to always hear from the judge.
Norm is also tired of carrying the camera. Which usually a sign I'm talking too long. So should we go to the awards? Should we talk about a few of what?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Let's start with the juror's choice. We can do the juror's choice, and then we'll go into the third, second, and first best in show. So let's give us a little bit of your perceptions too, and some of your choices as you go along. So we'll build it up here.
So for the juror's choice, this was my song. Great piece called Florida Bleach Coral by Rosemary Young. As soon as I walked in, I really loved how this piece was displayed. The fact that it felt like this heavy, drapey, it was blanket-like, but it's also body-like, laying across these two large plinthy pedestals. A lot of handmade work in here with fibers. And I thought it was really unique. You know, a lot of people, I don't want to make generalities, but a lot of fiber work that I see can tend to be really small and kind of in love with itself and the way that it's put together. And this had a feeling of being sporadic and punchy, and I loved it. And we have a lot of different ways that these different yarns and fabrics are put together. Oops. I have no idea how these are made, but they're great. Hand stitching, some weaving in there. That was mentioned maybe sometime.
So congrats, Rose Young. Awesome. Yeah. Love to see fiber work in the gallery.
Absolutely. Especially something that involves that much. And it's kind of that wild. So then from there, my third place.
Now this is $100. Oh, and the juror's choice, so Rose will get a free membership, free Alliance membership. And then the third place is $100 cash. We'll send out checks next week.
A portrait, Nico the Great by Diane Bears from Eagle Lake. I thought this was a really impactful portrait. Beautifully painted. The use of things like really deep blues rather than a normal flat black in painting is really nice. I could tell there was a lot going on with these purples and reds and maroons that were used in the painting. Also, absolutely beautiful surface, you know, very creamy, nice touch with the brush. Certain areas look really quick, but very, very accurate. I love that. So for the second place piece, I don't know what the prize is, so Aaron, you're gonna have to help me.
The prize is a $250 gift certificate for Golden Paints.
From Golden Paint, one of the best companies going. This painting, which says collage, we talked about it a little bit earlier. I thought it was absolutely beautiful, especially when I got here today and I actually got to see the surface. When I saw this digitally, I thought elegant, pretty. When I got here, I realized that the elegance comes from the choices and the composition, cutting, the color, but there's actually a lot of push and pull and a lot of grit going on in that surface. It's a really, really great piece.
And now for the grand prize and best in show for the 2021 All Florida exhibition.
A wonderful piece here, entitled If 2020 Were a Western by Stephen Hayford. This is one of the pieces that even after looking at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things, this piece has still been on my mind for the past month or so. We have a digital photograph that's been mounted on aluminum. Risky choice always. We have this floating, very thin photograph of basically a diorama that's very well lit. I think there's smoke involved. Some Photoshop, I'm sure, was used. Of a truly terrifying, ultra-masculine Western bar fight taking place using these small figurines, these dolls. And I just love the humor mixed with the darkness. Feels right for the past year. And beautifully executed piece, just absolutely beautiful. The depth of field in here, things like shadows or the silhouetted shadows behind the windows. The nice touches like the wallpaper, things like a figure flying through. There's just a lot going on. I also thought it was really funny to come in today and there's a fire alarm right above the piece. But it's a beautiful, beautiful work. And actually, Stephen Hayford has a second piece in the show, which I also think we should take a quick look at, because I'm guessing I don't know any of his work beyond these two pictures. But it's not all macho dolls that are fighting with each other. The other image here is, a fairly quiet, touching moment with these two figures. We see a graduation gown and cap as two figures are looking out the window. Again, the humor of dealing with these action figures set up with beautiful lighting to imply this little narrative. I just thought it was really, really great. So it's wonderful work.